Hey guys, Magenta's is back here today again with another future card Buddyfight deck profile. And today, I'll finally be doing a deck profile on my Sun Dragons deck. After so long, finally I've got the desired build that I would like. Yeah, so let's go with Sun Dragons. In case you're not updated, Buddyfight Sun Dragons is this new attribute of Dragon World which Gao Mikado uses, and so it's a main character world now. So let's go with it. So Buddy monster is Dragon of the Sun, Bao Dragon. Pay 1 gauge. When this card attacks, this card gets 5k power for this turn and penetrate. So it's a 10,000 power and 3k defense with 2 crits. And of course penetrate is really strong because in aggro decks such as these, you want the penetrate damage to push for extra damage to kill your opponent even quicker. So moving on to our size 3 monsters. 2 copies of Scorching Cavalry Dragon 2nd Helios. It's a size 3 monster with 7k power, 2 crits, and 5k defense. Call cost of 2 gauge, and put the top 2 cards of your deck into his soul. Put a Sun Dragon from the soul of this card into a drop zone if you do destroy a monster in your opponent's center. Yeah, 2 copies of this, and he has double attack and soul guard. Basically, if you're in the early game, you can call him to tank in the center. Or if you need a double attack, you can always call him to the right and hit twice. And of course, his skill can help you clear out your opponent's center monster if it's one of those really strong size 3 monsters. So 2 copies because it's not really a size 3 centric build. So just 2 copies, when you need it, you will draw it. Yeah. So moving on to our size 2s. 2 copies of Godly Speed Bao Dragon. So Bao is becoming a new drum with a lot of forms. 1 copy Buddy Rare. So we just see the normal triple rare version because the words are easier to read. 6k power, 2 crits, 3k defense. Size 2 monster. When this card attacks, if your opponent does not have a monster in the center, you gain 1 life. And he has move. So move is also really good because it can protect a center. 2 copies. So moving on, we run 4 copies of our Buddy monster. 10k power and has penetrate. Yeah, basically just for that. And of course, Bao Dragons are highly valued because of the fact that we have Bao Knuckle, which can help to increase the critical of Bao Dragons. Next, we run 4 copies of Aspiration Existence, Bao Dragon and Jackknife. Basically, it's a really cool card that can be used for Jackknife builds or Bao Dragon builds. Pay 1 gauge, put the top card of your deck into this card. So 5k power, 3 kits, 5k defense. Basically, it's just your Drum Bunker Dragon, but with different names. Yeah, so we run 10 Bao Dragons and 10 size 2 monsters, that's it. So moving on to the size 1s. 2 copies of Vivid Flash Dragon. When this card enters the field for this turn, all cards on your opponent's field get minus 2k defense. Pretty good against transform decks, in case you can't hit their magic numbers. You can always minus their defense. Next, 2 copies of Blazehorn Dragon. Call cost, pay 1 gauge. When this card enters the field, when this card attacks a monster in your opponent's center, destroy that monster. And it has move, 1k power, 1 crit. 1k power, 2 crits and 1k defense. So basically you can clear our opponent's center by just attacking with this card. 2 copies. And next, 2 copies of Mera Blade Dragon. If your opponent does not have a monster in the center, this card gets 1 crit. 3k power, 2 crits, potentially 3 crits, and 1k defense. So just these size 1s. And lastly, the toolkit 2-box card. 4 copies of Flare Fang Dragon. When this card enters the field, if you have a Sun Dragon on your field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. Flare Gift only activates once per turn. 3k power, 1 crit, and 1k defense. Basically, you can increase your gauge and you can draw cards with this. And basically, if you have another Sun Dragon, means that if you have another Sun Dragon, doesn't have to be a monster. If you have an item, you can still use his effect. So that's one thing you need to take note in case you don't have any monsters but have an item, you can always call him out and hope to draw into a monster. So moving on to our spells, we run 2 copies of Drago Desperate. Pay 1 gauge and you take 1 damage. Rest the size 2 or less monster or an item on your opponent's field. Really good against ultimate card burn decks. They're really scary because they can attack up to like 6 times per turn with the card burn into card burn D-Wing combo. Yeah, so 2 copies of this to rest items. Can save you from Azidaka's 6 crit weapon as well. Alright, moving on. 3 copies of Stout Arm of the Sun. Cast of 1 gauge. Destroy a monster in your opponent's left or right. You may only cast this card with Sun Dragon on your field, and your opponent doesn't have a monster in the center. So basically, it's pretty good. It works well against knights. You can just clear out stupid Tetsuya, or you can clear out, I don't know, the double attack knights guy. Alright, now moving on to the shields. 4 copies of Green Dragon Shield. Nullify the attack in game 1 life. And of course, with Green Dragon Shield comes Blue Dragon Shield. 4 copies. Nullify the attack and put the top card of your deck into your gauge. And lastly, a new addition to Dragon Shields, we have Sun Dragon Shield. You may only cast this card if you have Sun Dragon on the field. And yeah. Counter, nullify the attack, gain 1 life, and put the top card of your deck into your gauge. If you have 2 or more Sun Dragon, this card cannot be nullified. Basically, it's a combination of Green Dragon Shield and Blue Dragon Shield. Yeah, basically, this deck shouldn't have gauge issues because you have these to increase your gauge. And really, there's nothing much, and of course you have Flare Fang as well. There's nothing much that takes up gauge. So, a lot of people are running Bao support. I get that 2 life and 2 gauge are pretty good, but don't really like the idea of having that. So yeah, it's one of the cards I skip out on. And moving on to the items, we run 2 copies of Sun Fist, Burning Sun, and 4 copies of Sun Fist, Bao Knuckle. So let's start with Burning Sun. Pay 1 gauge, if you have 2 or more Sun Dragon monsters on the field, this card gets 1 crit, so it's a 4k 3 crit weapon. So Sun Fist, Bao Knuckle, pay 1 gauge, 4k 2 crit. When a monster with Bao Dragon attacks, for this battle, that monster gets 1 crit. This ability only activates during the attack phase and the final phase once. Yeah, basically it's still considered 3 crits because anything with Bao you can attack, and that card gets 1 crit, so it's similar to Burning Sun. However, if you are going to final phase and call out your impact monsters, it's gonna be an extra crit, so basically could stand to be a 4k 4 crit weapon. Yep, so that's all the weapons that we run. Lastly, for the impact monsters, we run 2 copies of Mysterious Sun Dragon Hidden Strength. Even though Bao Dragon is here in the artwork, this card is not a Bao Dragon card, so it doesn't get a crit from Bao Knuckle. However, it's size 3 with awesome stats, 7k power, 7k defense. Call cost, pay 3 gauge and put a Sun Dragon from your field into your gauge. So the net call cost of this card is just 2 gauge. And if you have a Sun Dragon item equipped, this card gets 2k power, 2k defense, 1 crit, and cannot be destroyed by effects. Move. So you can tank your center with this, with 9k power, 9k defense. 2 copies, and it's a 4 crit if you have an item. And lastly, 3 copies of Bao Dragon, Bao Smasher, your finisher card. Call cost, pay 3 gauge and put this card on top of a Sun Dragon monster on your field. This card's attack cannot be nullified if it's attacking alone. Soul Guard, 11k power, 4 crits and 6k defense. With Bao Knuckle, it's a 5 crit attacker. And of course, Soul Guard is really cool because of cards like this Bao Dragon. Basically, you can so you call this, you pay 1 gauge, and you put the top card of your deck into his soul. Yeah, and now this card has 2 souls, and then during a final phase, you can call it on top of him, card like this. So basically, this card can get 2 souls for if you are using this Bao Dragon. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, this deck is just a hyper aggressive deck with high crits to push for damage, and lastly to finish off your opponent with a 5 crit attack that cannot be nullified. Yeah, and the shields are really, there's a lot of shields. You probably won't get rushed down by another aggro deck, I guess. Yeah, I mean, ultimately it still boils down to the luck of the draw. So yeah, that's it for the deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like down below to show me some support. If you're new to my channel, subscribe if you'd like to see more Buddyfight deck profiles, card reviews and stuff like that. So be sure to add me on Facebook. You can talk to me about Buddyfight. And until the next video, goodbye, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.